The skin looks a little pearlescent, wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say it looks a little pearlescent? Pearlescents are back. Pearlescents are back, baby. Pearlescent, and it's because of Grant and the guys on his team. And listen, it's not going to be easy. The droplet rates for when they can drop, it's less than 1%. So if you get one of these, you're lucky. You're lucky.
Did I just get a double pearl drop? Oh my god. There's another. Wait, we're gonna get 4 pearls on this run. We are gonna get 4 pearls in one run. Hey. There it is. 4 pearls.
That's a lot of damage.
Yo guys, what is up? Max in our Borderlands 4 video, and today we are talking all about pearls. Now, if you did not know, pearls have now been added to Borderlands 4, and their implementation, in my opinion, has been a miss on just about every single front. However, fortunately, the devs are listening, and they've just updated us with a bunch of changes that are coming to pearls and the new canister, like Ordinate processor activity. So I'm going to be going over everything you guys need to know. Hope you enjoy the breakdown. Let's do this. So Grant updated us on basically kind of some changes that are going to be coming not only very soon in the next basically hotfix, should be like this Thursday, but also in the future of pearls. So he says, hey everyone, appreciate all the feedback over the last couple days. Some changes we're planning. We're going to be reducing the UVH scaler on pearl drops, which, by the way, people have been asking if pearls drop rates scale with UVH. That is a confirmation that they do. They will still scale after this, but they're probably going to scale less. They're also adjusting the canisters to make them roll less. The new activity, I'm probably on my own on this, but I actually like the activity a lot. However, I think the canister part of it is quite annoying and tedious. I just want to shoot things. And so they're going to make them roll less. If you did not know, if you're using like a splash build, you can actually like blow them off the map and send them flying, which is obviously really frustrating. So they should be a little bit more sturdy, a little bit more tied to the ground when they do drop. They're also going to be fixing the Eigenburst drop chance. If you did not know, currently the Eigenburst is dropping like 7 times more likely than the Conflux sniper rifle. So that is going to be probably evened out. They're both going to be, I'm imagining, around a 1% drop chance, if not lower, once these changes go live. And they're also fixing enemies spawning below intended level of 49. This has been a global plague for the game, not just like pearls. However, when you get, I've gotten multiple pearls. I didn't even realize, but in the Vex build guide that I posted, the sniper that I was using in all of our showcases was level 49, meaning that I could have just been doing way more damage. So once you're level 50, you should only be getting level 50 items. So that should be great. And they're also reducing HP on the tiny spawns. These are some of the new Ordinite enemies that are pretty tanky. To be honest, I didn't think they needed to get nerfed, but I have heard some people say that they're really struggling on some of the new Ordinite enemies, so that is getting changed. Now, Grant also followed up by saying, I want to talk about pearls for a second. I know a lot of people were surprised by the hand cannon drop. That was a one-time thing to introduce all players who have never even heard of a pearl. There's a lot of players that have joined our journey since Borderlands 2, but it won't happen again. And then over the next 2 content drops, we're going to increase the amount of available pearls and give players a greater hunt across the world of Kairos. So interpreting that, one, we're going to be getting more pearls, which is great. One of our next content drops is the new DLC with Cash, so we should get more pearls there. And it also sounds like they're going to be adding pearls to the drop pools of hopefully more things, because right now they're kind of just tied to Ordinite enemies, and Ordinite enemies are tied to these activities. It is kind of weird that this is like the only place where you can get pearls, where like half of the cool discovery of pearls is the chance for it to come out of anywhere, and to get it from anything can be lead to some really, really cool surprise moments. So hopefully they're going to be incorporating that. So I recorded a whole like rant video about pearls, and this definitely addresses some of my issues with them. However, even if the pearls are at a rarer drop chance, I still think this Pearl update is a bit of a miss. The devs have been asking for feedback on them, so I'm just going to provide that through this video, to be honest. So I want to talk about this implementation of Pearls and for the future, what I think would make them a whole lot better. So the first thing to mention is that Pearls need to be unique. There's going to be a really interesting dynamic, especially with them costing basically 200 Iridium to farm, that I do think Pearls need to be good. I don't think they need to be like the best weapons in the game. If all of the, or the only weapons to use at endgame all become Pearls, like that could be okay, but it could also be a little bit boring. And so I think Pearls don't necessarily need to be the strongest weapons in the game, but they need to have a uniqueness to them that when you build into their gimmick, they can be really strong. And I actually think the Conflux sniper rifle is a pretty good example of that. It just using it normally isn't all that great, but if you really lean into the ability to proc tons of status effects, it is pretty strong on certain builds. And so I think that's a pretty decent implementation. However, like the Eigenburst, its special ability is that it does increase damage as your ammo decreases. This is not only not unique, but it's also boring, and it literally is the exact same special effect as a gun that is already in Borderlands 4. I don't have one on me right now, but the Bugbear Assault Rifle literally does more damage as your magazine gets lowered. So I think this is a big miss, and I also think the hand cannon is a big miss. The sticky projectiles doing damage while attached to targets is technically a unique thing, but you can't build into that. There's no way to like specialize in that, and this gun in of itself also doesn't deal more damage per sticky on an enemy. So the whole idea of using a sticky weapon, this just doesn't work with, making it really below average. It's a really just not good weapon, in my opinion. And when you're going to be launching 3 Pearls, they need to hit, especially when we've been waiting 6 months since the marketing of this and like 12 years for the implementation. I think launching with 3 Pearls is a mistake. I know we are getting more, but that's not really a number to get super excited about. I think 5 at minimum would have been helpful, especially when one of the Pearls is locked to the DLC and only drops in the DLC. And it's like, you know, it's 100% drop rate. So there's really only 2 Pearls to like actually farm for. But I kind of wanted to propose some ideas to make Pearls more unique and to like make them more of a chase item. So how to improve Pearls? First off, I think that these should be wacky and like unique weapons that do things that other guns don't. When, you know, most of your Pearls are just shooting a normal projectile and feel like a purple gun that sometimes does an extra element, I think that's a big miss. We had some really crazy Pearls in Borderlands 2 at the time. Some legendaries have now like overridden those effects, but there's so many cool things that they could do with these weapons besides just like shoot normal bullets. This is Borderlands, a franchise that originally was once known for like having crazy freaking weapons and crazy combos, saw blades, weapons that spawn volcanoes, weapons that spawn lightning. And the Pearls here just feel like any ordinary gun. And I think another additional part of why they feel so ordinary is the override system. Now, I think the override is a terrible idea for multiple reasons. One, because you player doesn't have any control over it. They could have just made this gun does like 30% extra damage against armor bars, and it would feel the same. You can't build around an override. You can't do anything interesting with it. My build and the way that I change or the way that I use this weapon doesn't change based off of an override. I'm still shooting at an enemy, and sometimes it does more damage. So I wanted to propose a few things. The first is I think it'd be really cool if the overrides actually had a gameplay altering effect that you could visually see. So, for example, instead of a corrosive override of it sometimes does corrosive damage, maybe you have a corrosive imbuement, and that comes with a unique special effect, like you spawn poison bugs that apply stickies to an enemy. And then all of a sudden, you could see these little bugs that apply stickies, and that becomes something that you might seek after for a single target build. And maybe you could get like a shock imbuement that isn't changing the base of the element, but it provides additional effect. So shock imbue means that when you're shooting at enemies, you chain lightning to them. So if you wanted to get an eigenburst for mobbing, you would go for the shock imbuement, which would then chain lightning damage to enemies. That's a visual effect that changes your gameplay, and it changes the way that you'd want to like get the weapon. And so the shock imbuement would be great for mobbing, and the corrosive imbuement could be great for bossing. You could have a fire imbuement that spawns fire pools on the ground that do high dot damage. That could be really good for dot builds on Vex or Amon. It's just like one example of something that is not only visually altering the gun to make it feel special and different, but also actually changes the way that you use and play around them, and would change your priorities for what you're farming. I think that is like 10 times more interesting of an implementation than like a corrosive override that you just can't do anything with. The last idea for pearls that I just wanted to throw out there that I think is really cool, and I haven't seen any other game do it, is basically Crucible's Path of Exile trees. If you don't know what this is, basically Path of Exile did a league where every weapon dropped with like a random small little tree. Maybe there's a total of like 30 total nodes, and as you use that weapon, you could rank it up and get some experience to then specialize that weapon more. I don't think it needs to be anywhere near as complicated as Path of Exile, but it would be kind of cool to get a pearl that is unbelievably rare, that doesn't come with like a ton of parts and a ton of variation. It's like you get the gun. It's a 0.5 drop rate. It comes with hardly any variation. It's super rare to get, but if you get it, then you can use that weapon and grind experience and specialize and kind of pick those parts and make the weapon your own via its own built-in skill tree. Each weapon could have their own kind of skill tree. And if you really want your pearl pistol to have a Jacob's part, you could then spec into that part, but you'd be choosing Jacob's ricochets over like stickies, or you could get an additional projectile or maybe faster reload speed. And then once you get this weapon, you could make it your own, but you would need to grind with it. It wouldn't be really great when you first get it, but you could make it really awesome, but it would take a while, and that would justify the rarity. It would make it worthwhile to go get, and once you get one, you kind of get it, but you could make it your own, and then you'd have another reason to go farm another. Like, if you get it and it's super rare, you could make one for mobbing and make it fire element with Jacob's ricochets and stuff like that. And then you could get another, take you hours to grind, but you could get another and then specialize it maybe for bossing. And this would be like such a cool thing to do. We usually when I bring up PoE, people get mad at me, but they are the like masters, in my opinion, of creating interesting loot synergies and chases. And I think Borderlands could really learn some things from them. So I wanted to bring that up. The other thing with pearls is like that I do want to mention is I don't think pearls necessarily need a gimmick. A gimmick to justify their difference of rarity, I think is fine. But like these could just be really unique weapons that are really hard to find, and that alone could justify their rarity. The frustrating thing with this update is there's multiple guns that I think would be just better suited for being pearls, that like don't need a special thing that sets them apart than like a normal legendary. For example, like the roulette is crazy. It's such a cool weapon. It has a unique effect that is different than all of the other weapons. Yes, it is basically the Lucky 7 for Borderlands 3, but this would be something that would feel like a pearl if it was made one. I feel the same way about the Shalashashka. This is a weapon that has a unique effect that's different from everything else. It visually performs differently, and it feels good to use. It's powerful, and I think this could also be a pearl. So there are a lot of ideas of like gimmicks, but I think a really well-designed, crafted gun that's powerful, unique, and visually different than other weapons could also be a pearl. I don't think Gearbox needs to cram random effects into them just to justify the rarity, but if they're going to have guns that just do the same things that all of the other guns do, then yes, they do need some sort of gimmick to like make them a pearl. The last thing to touch on is the like Ordinite processor events, which I honestly have been having fun with. I do think the canister mechanic is quite tedious and annoying. When it works, it's fine, but it also like doesn't work a fair bit. But I do think locking pearls behind these drops was definitely a mistake. Now, thankfully, the devs are listening, and it seems like they won't be repeating that. I really do think we needed some kind of like hard mobbing content for endgame content, and I think this delivers on that. But like part of what made pearls so cool and unique was their kind of just like ability to pop out of anywhere and get them from anything and never really know when you were going to be given a pearl. Now with this new Ordinite event, there's created this weird kind of dynamic and expectation of getting pearls. Before with pearls, it was kind of like a surprise thing that you'd get that's like, oh, look what I got. Like, this is super awesome. This is super cool. But now with the Ordinite processor events, you're expecting to get a pearl. You're doing a determined activity exclusively to get pearls. And not only that, but that activity costs iridium. So when the pearls get, the drop rates get nerfed, now there's going to be a weird dynamic that they're basically going to be implementing that is a like price per power, which is like, hey, with pearls being maybe like a 1% drop with 3 rounds, that might take me 6,000 iridium to get a single pearl. Is a pearl worth 6,000 iridium to me? That's a lot of time. That's a lot of farming. And now I'm expecting it. And if I don't get it, I'm going to be upset type deal. And so like, I don't know, it's creating this weird dynamic that like, I just don't think is going to be great for the game. And thankfully, you know, pearls in the future aren't going to be like tied to a specific event. But I do think that players are going to get quite frustrated when they nerf the drop rates and don't do anything else. Like if they're going to nerf the drop rates of the pearls, I think they should compensate by buffing them and making them do a bit more damage because, hey, you know, they're rare, but they do more damage, so now they're more worth. Or maybe lower the iridium cost on them from 200 to 100 or something like that, just because I'm imagining when they do nerf the drop rates after players have been farming them for a week, if nothing changes about the pearls to justify them being rare, most players are going to be like, well, you know, I already got like 8 or so pearls and, you know, I'm probably pretty good. I'll just log back in when the level cap happens. And so, you know, hopefully, if they are going to make them rare, they give maybe a little bit more reason to justify their rarity in terms of buffing them, because I think the pearls are solid right now, but I don't think they're out of the box great feeling. And if you're going to have something really rare, I think it should be a little bit better out of the box feeling. Once again, a lot of these pearls don't have like a really unique gimmick that you can build into, the conflux being a little bit of an outlier in that. And so, you know, out of the box, the weapons don't feel great, but with a very specific role, they can be decent, but decent might not be worthwhile for a lot of players when they cost so much iridium. Now, thankfully, with all of this rambling and ranting, the devs are listening, and it sounds like they're not going to be giving away guaranteed pearls. They're going to be making them more rare in the future, and hopefully they take the feedback on the override system, because I think it is not good, and the future pearls are introduced with new and interesting mechanics to make them worthwhile and make them unique and give Borderlands a really rare loot chase. Borderlands used to be the king of the looter shooters, and I feel like a lot of steps have been taken in Borderlands 4's post-launch to really cast some doubt on that. I really need them to like step up on some of these content drops. Post-launch support for Borderlands 4 has been quite slow, and I keep thinking, oh, you know, balance changes are really going slow. Things are going really slow because they're really working on the big content drops, and then we get these big content drops, and the pearls are just like a big miss on basically every front. Now, I do want to say, I think the Stone Demon DLC is actually quite a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I've grinded the Stone Demon DLC for like 25 hours now, so in my opinion, I think it's worth the price. There's some new loot, the new enemies, the new areas. I've been enjoying it a lot. I know that's not a overly common opinion, but for me, it's been worth. So yeah, guys, that is the video. I will catch y'all in the next one. Take care. Peace.